What the government is really looking for is someone who solves problems. What's the use of just giving theories? Let me solve a problem. Everyone is not expected to know everything. It's about taking everyone along with you and moving forward with confidence. It is always better to understand that politicians often have much more field-level feedback than we do. Every day, you learn something new and interesting. If I were to define the IAS, I would say it's not about just meeting targets, it's about managing people. Be different. Don't be just another face in the crowd. The future cannot be defined by a civil servant alone. It is a combined effort of political governance, civil administration, and the citizens. The grassroots people love me. Welcome to another episode of Believe in Future Amazing Mentor, where we bring you insight and inspiration from trailblazers who have shaped industries, governance, and lives. Today we have with us a distinguished personality, Mr. Ankur Gupta. In 1990, Batch IAS officer who has served in key leadership positions in Haryana's government, his exemplary career spanned various pivotal roles, including leading public work, agriculture and farmer welfare, food and civil supplies, civil aviation, and now the Department of Personnel as Additional Chief Secretary. With over 3 decades in civil service, his dedication has contributed significantly to governance and administration. We are honored to have him with us today, sharing his incredible journey to inspire young minds who wish to serve the nation. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much, Gaurav. My pleasure, sir. So we will start from your childhood. So can you take us back to your childhood? What were your dreams and inspiration as a child? Gaurav, I grew up in a very small town and, well, in the first standard, nobody knows this, but I actually failed. Taking pity on me, the school promoted me to the second standard. In those days, things were very different. My father, frustrated, took a stick, made me stand naked on the road, and beat me. After that, he left everything and spent hours and hours teaching me. And from that moment on, I never stopped coming first in class. In fact, if I ever got 99.9%, that was considered a disaster. So I learned the hard way. But I'm extremely thankful to my parents. Whatever I am today is because of them. Now, times have changed, and I don't know if today's standards are correct, but I do believe discipline pays. Since my father was an engineer, I naturally followed that path. In those days, there was no 12th grade. We had prep, which was 11th. From there, I got into one of the top 20 engineering colleges for mechanical engineering. But deep inside, I always wanted to become an IAS officer because my father once told me that he had dreamt of it too. One day, when he got promoted to superintending engineer, I asked him what came next. He said chief engineer. I asked after that. He said engineer-in-chief, then secretary. So I asked him, when will you become a secretary? He said, I'll never become one, only IAS officers become secretaries. That really hit me hard. That's when I decided I had to become an IAS. During engineering, I had a close friend. At that time, XLRI admission forms were being sold for 30 rupees. Gaurav, we were so broke that even having 1 rupee and 50 paise in our pocket made us happy, because for 45 paise you could get a bread pakora, 25 paise for tea, and still have 50 paise left. My friend used to memorize English vocabulary daily. He wanted to go to IIM. One day he came and said, I filled your form for 30 rupees. I said, I'm not paying for it. He replied, just copy from me then. As luck would have it, I went there to help him. He didn't qualify, but I did. Still, I didn't want to join. One Sunday, a batchmate of my father's from engineering, he was the president of Telco, Tata Motors, Jamshedpur, came home. He asked, what is your son doing? My father said, he finished engineering and is preparing for IAS. He's also got a call from XLRI. He asked, so what is he doing about it? My father replied, nothing. He got angry, saying, this is one of the best institutes. Get him to join. My dad asked me when the last date was. I said, tomorrow. He said, go and join it. So I joined. But still, my focus was always on becoming an IAS. And I owe everything to my parents. Back then, kids didn't even know much. We had no internet, no Google, no phones, nothing. Later, I completed my engineering and did an MBA in marketing and finance, then entered the advertising world, which I loved. But I never stopped preparing for the IAS. And that's how it all happened. If that incident hadn't happened, the one you mentioned where I kept asking my dad, what happens next? What happens next? What happens next? Then would you still be sitting in this chair today? And if not, then what would have happened instead? Gaurav, you are making me emotional. My father retired in 1992. In 1990, I became an IAS officer. I told him, Daddy, now you'll have to call me sir. Gaurav, whatever I am today is because of my parents. I didn't know anything back then. What do kids know? Really? Whatever little exposure we had to the world was through the eyes of our parents. They definitely wanted me to become an IAS officer, but I was very clear. Becoming an IAS was never a guarantee. You know, lakhs and lakhs of people sit for that exam. But in those days, I'm talking about the 1980s. The best combination for the private sector was engineering and an MBA. I had both, with very good marks and from the best institutes in the country. So, I had a backup. When I graduated from XLRI, I got a job offer in Bombay, a Maruti 800, a flat and a salary of 30,000 rupees. That was the world back then. But God had something else in store for me. According to you, for example, if we talk about our time, parents were allowed to beat us. And they used to. It was almost like a ritual. If they didn't beat us for a few days, you'd even hear things like, seems like it's been a while since you got a beating. But now, if you talk about today's generation, parents don't beat their children anymore, whether it's a boy or a girl. So, what would be your suggestion on how to control and instill discipline in children of the coming generation? Gaurav, forget about beating altogether. These days, it's become a fact that if you take your kids off Instagram for even 2 hours, they become your worst enemies. They'll say, you are not my friend, even though they spend the other 6 hours glued to Instagram with you. The dynamics have completely changed. But to be honest, today's kids might actually be learning a lot from all this. Even if they are going astray in some ways, they're also picking up valuable lessons. They are much more tech savvy. They have a lot more knowledge. And you know, as generations evolve, new dimensions come into play and gain importance. What's right and what's wrong, you are nobody to judge that. It all comes down to how you adapt to a particular situation. So how did you prepare for your UPSC exam and what were the biggest challenges during preparation time? The first challenge was that I come from a very small town and I had a lack of resources financially, yes, but even more so when it came to books. I mean, you need books to prepare, right? But I'm extremely grateful. You must have heard of an institute called the National Dairy Research Institute in Karnal. It's a pioneer institute in dairy development, not just in the country, but I believe globally. They were incredibly kind and allowed me to use their entire library, free of cost for as long and as much as I needed. So I made full use of that library. The challenge was, I was from a small town, but I had 2 things very clear in my mind. First, whatever I do, I have to do it differently. Second, let me give you a typical example. At that time, a particular state was facing serious insurgency issues. Now, whenever that topic came in an exam, everyone would write the same type of answer. So and so author said this and so said that. But I thought, what is the government actually looking for? They want someone who can solve the problem. What's the point of just repeating theories? Let me try and solve it. Like we do in engineering, QED. This is the problem. These are the possible solutions. These are the implications, positives and negatives. And then QED. That's how I believed an answer should be written. And I wanted to stand out. I didn't join, with due respect, any coaching classes. Even today, I believe that if I had children preparing for UPSC, I wouldn't let them attend any coaching institute, because it's just mass production. One question gets one standard answer, and if 100 students write the same thing, imagine you are the examiner. After 2 pages, you'll probably get bored. You are looking for something different. So no, I didn't join any coaching classes. The third thing I learned from the Germans and the Japanese. In our country, say you want to build a house, Gaurav, what do? We call the mason and start hammering and building right away. Half the house gets built and then, oh no, that nail was supposed to go there. This part was supposed to be over here. And it just keeps going like that. But in those countries, they'll say, this is a 24-month project. We'll spend 18 to 20 months just planning. Where should what go? Everything is mapped out. So, for 5 months, yes, full 5 months, I didn't study. I only focused on planning and indexing my notes. Why? So that if I need a reference at 1:30 a.m. while studying, I don't have to waste time figuring out where to find it. I'd know exactly where to go. Not just indexing. If, 5 months later, Gaurav, you had asked me what I would be doing on the 8th day of the 7th month at 3:00 am. My diary could answer you. It would tell you exactly what I'd be studying at that time. So for me, planning was a huge part of preparation. Reading naturally follows after that. That's why my suggestion to any aspirant, not just for IAS, but for any career, private sector or otherwise, is please plan. You should know what you are going to do over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Otherwise, someone calls and says, "Hey, did you do that chapter?" It's super important. And you toss your entire plan aside and start running after that one topic. That doesn't help. Next, you have to accept you are not meant to know everything. Prioritize. If I know I need to score a certain percentage, let me focus on my key strengths first. Whatever time I have left after that, I use it to work on the rest. So can you share any memorable incidents from your early days in training at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration? I was always fond of outdoor activities. During the foundation course, we once went on a trek. I don't know how it happened, but the track we were walking on was extremely narrow, barely 6 inches wide, just enough to place your foot. You had to cling to the mountain and walk with your back facing the valley. Suddenly, the soil started to slip and I began falling. I was with 2 batchmates at the time. They grabbed me and pulled me back. That incident saved my life. But after that, I lost all my confidence. Once the confidence was gone, fear started creeping into everything I did. Horse riding was part of our training and the riding area was right below my room. Mr. Ranjiv Dalal, who later became the DGP of Haryana and has since retired, was in charge. A very good friend of mine, an absolute gentleman and an excellent officer. He even taught us how to sit properly and how to use a fork and knife, yes, to that extent. At the time, he was our co-director. Now I was scared to even get on a horse. It was a 6-foot-tall horse and the riding ground was down below. From below, he would call out, "Ankur, come down." And I'd be afraid, thinking, what if the horse throws me off? I had worked so hard to get here with all my education. What if something happened now? So I had to figure out a way out of this. There were 3 instructors and 2 of them were from Haryana. By that time, I had already been allotted the Haryana cadre. I pulled those 2 aside and said, "Brother, you guys are from Haryana, right?" "Yes," they replied. I said, "My family is also in Haryana." They asked, "Where in Haryana?" I said, "I'm going to be in Haryana." Then I told them, "Look, when Dalal sir comes, I'll just show my face for attendance and then run away. Can you mark me present?" They said, "Sure." So for the next 2 years, my attendance was taken care of and I never got on a horse. I also had my own logic, which I even told Dalal sir. I said, "Sir, horses were used when we didn't have jeeps or roads. Now we have both. Let me drive a jeep instead. No one drives a jeep better than I do." But he had his own reasoning. He said, "I'm not asking you to ride the horse on a road. It's about building confidence that you can control a strong and unpredictable animal. That confidence is what I'm trying to give you." So this tug-of-war between us went on for a while. But I must say, with all due respect, I learned a lot from him. So what was your first posting and how did it feel to take a real responsibility for the first time? This is quite an interesting story. My first posting was in a very important subdivision and I found there was so much encroachment that I couldn't even drive my car. My senior officer, frankly speaking, was a very, very powerful officer, so I won't say much more. He didn't get along with the local politicians. I had to clear the encroachments. From the beginning, I had followed one principle: if I had to succeed, be it with politicians or the police, I had to take everyone along. One day, I called the local politician and said, "Can we have a cup of tea?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Let's meet around 3 or 3:30 p.m. We sat down together. I said, "Sir, even you'll agree, the condition of the market has gotten so bad. Forget parking, you can't even drive a car through it. There's encroachment everywhere." He said, "Yes, that's true." I said, "I need to remove it." He said, "I won't let you do that." I asked, "Why?" He replied, "Because I'll lose my votes." I said, "Let's do one thing. I'm telling you in advance, just go out on a visit somewhere at 7 o'clock in the morning. By 3 p.m. I'll finish the work." He agreed. "Done," he said. At 7 a.m., he left town. By 7:30 a.m., I had arranged for 4 JCB machines. The first thing I did was demolish the shop of a top local leader from a political party. By 12 o'clock noon, I had cleared the entire market. At 3 p.m., the politician returned. Then the drama began. "Down with Ankur Gupta! Long live! Down with! Long live!" They threatened violence, riots, chaos. This went on for 2 hours. At 7 p.m., we sat down and had tea together again. From that, I learned 2 key things. It's always better to move move forward with confidence, taking everyone along. The second insight was from another incident. Field feedback is something that politicians know way better than we do. I used to think I had CID reports, field intelligence. But a politician is someone deeply connected to the ground. Their information is hardly ever wrong. That's something I learned from my first posting. And one more thing, though unrelated. About 3 weeks into the job, I got a call from someone claiming to be an MP from Delhi. He said, "You've charge sheeted a patwari, please sort it out, fix it, do this, do that." I don't know why, but some kind of sixth sense kicked in. I cross-checked, this name didn't exist. A couple of days later, the Chief Minister's pa called and said, "The CM wants to speak with the SDM." I replied, "Give me the number, I'll call back." I wanted to cross-check if it really was the CM. I hung up the phone. 5 minutes later, the Deputy Commissioner of Faridabad called me. "Beta, come to my office." I went there. He asked, "Why did you refuse to speak to the Chief Minister? You've barely been in service for 2 months." I said, "Sir, I didn't recognize his voice. How was I supposed to know it was really the CM?" Right in front of me, the Deputy Commissioner called the Chief Minister and said, "Sir, he's a young boy." The CM was so gracious. He said, "It's okay, I understand. He was once strict before, so he didn't want to talk without being sure it was me." So Gaurav, every day, you learn something new and interesting in this job. So what was the biggest challenge you faced in your initial years of service? Challenge, Gaurav? It never really came. One thing I always believed is that everybody is not supposed to know everything. Even to this day, if I don't understand something, I just go and sit next to the clerk and ask him, "Brother, what is this? Please explain it to me." I never feel embarrassed thinking, "Oh, I'm still learning." Even after 35 years of service, that's never been a problem. Yes, if you ask about challenges, there was never really any from the public either. As for politicians, I would tell them things clearly, directly. Still, no challenge came from there either. So you have served in multiple key departments: public works, civil aviation, food and supplies, agriculture, and farmer welfare. How do you adopt in such diverse responsibilities? Gaurav, I just shared that I'm not ashamed to learn, and I believe that the first month is meant for learning. Once I've learned, my fundamentals become clear, what needs to be done and what doesn't. The government system is essentially the same. It's basically about having domain-specific knowledge of a particular department, and if you don't have any personal vested interests, then the officers really support you a lot. They're very helpful. Can you share an inspiring story from your tenure that made you realize the power of public service? There are many such moments, Gaurav, but I'll just briefly share 3. In Palwal, Ambala, and Sirsa, in all 3 places, there were situations where people had blocked roads with dead bodies, and even firing was going on. No one was able to move forward. But because of the trust I had built in those places, I said, "I will go, I will talk to the protesters." The police said, "We'll go with you." But I said, "No, I will go alone." They warned me, "What if they shoot you?" I replied, "If you come with me, then they'll definitely shoot me. If I go alone, maybe not." So I went alone. I gave them assurance that justice would be done. And basically, in such cases, the issue is that the dead body is not cremated, and that prolongs the tension. We wanted them to cremate the body first, and then we would address their issues. Because of that, the roads were cleared, the bodies were cremated, and I fulfilled my promises, even if it meant going against the topmost bosses. That reputation helped me a lot. That was one incident. The second one, which is very close to my heart, is something I learned during my training at the academy. Our army personnel, our Fauzi brothers, get very little leave, and even during that leave, half of their time is spent traveling. They're already under a lot of stress, sitting out in the cold, in harsh conditions. And then if they receive a letter from home saying that a neighbor is harassing them or has encroached on their property, they get extremely agitated. So I had this personal rule: if someone was waiting outside my office to meet me, even if it was you, Gaurav, or someone else, even if it was an MLA, and if a soldier showed up, he would get top priority. I received a lot of blessings because of that. Let me share a real example. I was posted as SDM at the time. My wife was expecting our daughter and had been admitted to PGI, Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research. This was around 7 p.m. at night. Back then, mobile phones weren't common. Suddenly, I received a call through STD. They said both my wife and the baby, who were in Chandigarh PGI, were in danger. I was in Palwal. They said their lives were at risk. I started from Palwal at 7 p.m. At that time, it used to take about 7 hours to reach PGI. I drove through the night and reached PGI. God was kind. Both my wife and the baby survived. Later, I found out that after I left, hundreds of villagers gathered at the SDM residence in Palwal, which is quite large, probably 6 to 7 acres, and might now be the Deputy Commissioner's bungalow. It was December, very cold. People were sitting outside with blankets wrapped around them, holding candles, praying to God for my family's safety. What greater gift could an IAS officer receive than that? My wife was saved, my child was saved, my daughter was saved, and the people must have felt truly connected. It wasn't some rally where people were forced to show up. They had come on their own, out of genuine concern. So which role has been the most challenging yet fulfilling for you and why? Let me put it differently. You could ask, what is the field that I truly enjoy working in? That would be IT, information technology, and renewable energy. All the policies related to renewable energy have been written by me. If you just Google, whether it's the solar policy, biomass policy, lead policy, or any other, they've been written by me. I still keep myself updated. In fact, I believe I'm quite IT-savvy even today. So what does a typical day look like for an additional chief secretary managing multiple portfolio? At the end of the day, Gaurav, if I have to define the IAS, it's not about meeting targets, it's about man management. Whatever schemes there are, you implement them yourself, you make others implement them. You solve people's problems. It's about how you manage, whether it's your personal staff. Your personal staff is the first point of contact for the general public. If your personal staff is rude, your reputation will also suffer. Similarly, no matter which portfolio you are handling, whether as an additional secretary, principal secretary, DM, or anyone, you still have to get work done through others. So, it's about how you manage people, first and foremost. Secondly, how you manage your timelines. You say something, okay, fine. But if it's not completed on time, it's of no use. For example, I had a very clear principle that my meetings will not go over 30 minutes. If they do, it means I don't know my subject. Before a meeting, I would prepare so much. I would personally spend 2 hours preparing the discussion points and actionable points, then gather input on them. I would ask, do you agree? If yes, alright, then the deadline is set. How has this journey changed you on a personal level, and in what ways is Mr. Ankur Gupta different today compared to when he first began his journey? The anger has reduced a lot. A sense of acceptance has come in. There's that saying, God, grant me the strength to change the things I can, the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and more importantly, the wisdom to know the difference. So Gaurav, I've seen the good in people, I've seen their shortcomings. I've seen where the respect is actually for the chair, and where it's genuinely for you. There's been so much to learn, and yes, there is definitely one regret. If you are a doctor, a chartered accountant, or maybe in any other profession or business, you can keep working. But in the IAS, after 60, what will you do? You are still young then, that sense of purpose is still needed. So as we have discussed the encroachment case, so were there any incidents where there was pressure from the governance, and how did you handle that particular pressure? Gaurav, be it the private sector or government sector, I have worked in both, and there is pressure everywhere. 2 things matter. First, if you can convince them. Second, if they are convinced that you are determined and will definitely do it. Then they understand that, okay, he will do it, don't pressurize him. And this applies everywhere in life. I mean, let's not single out any specific service. Pressure exists, but you must be sure of yourself. And yes, obviously, if you don't have any personal interest, then you are on strong ground. But if you do, then you're on a weak footing. So what is the biggest misconception people have about being an IAS officer? They are inaccessible. So what are the key qualities one should possess to be a successful bureaucrat? Once you try to place yourself in the shoes of the person who is coming to meet you, because one day you were in that place and one day you may be there again. Then how would you feel? If you go to meet someone and they don't meet you, or they don't speak respectfully, or they don't act upon what you say. So let us not forget where we came from and where we have to return. Who should consider a career in the civil service and who shouldn't? When I completed my MBA, the best company was HLL, which later became Procter & Gamble. There was a question, At the end of the day, when I go to sleep tired and reflect, what will I think? That I sold 30,000 tubes of toothpaste, 1,000 Lux soaps. Or that I helped to young widowed women whose blessings will bring me peace and happiness. So, if you want satisfaction, be prepared. People won't always appreciate you. Yes, we have our shortcomings, I won't deny it. If we don't do our job, and it was our responsibility, then of course people get angry, and rightly so. But more than that, as I shared with you earlier, after 60, what do you do with so much experience? If you are on your own, working 12 hours a day, you are working only for yourself, and there is no retirement age. So yes, it's a very, very personal decision. And yes, the aura, honestly, that does attract. Being someone in a country of billions, among the few thousand, that surely attracts, but it takes immense hard work. So what's your advice for young aspirants who feel demotivated during UPSC preparation? First of all, if my young friends don't mind, most people start preparing because of societal pressures, whether from relatives or friends. Second, assess your own capability. Only do it if you truly believe you can. Third, always keep a backup option. It really breaks my heart when I hear about cases from places like Kota or anywhere else, whether it's IIT prep or anything else. These are such brilliant, aspiring futures of India. This is just not right. Our strength lies in our young manpower, so intelligent, so enterprising. 1. Don't do it under anyone's pressure. 2. Prepare as if you are enjoying the process. As someone rightly said, enjoy your work. If you don't, then leave it. So don't prepare under pressure, enjoy it, and always have a backup. That's all I wanted to say. So what is the best way to start preparing for civil services, coaching or self-study? Gaurav, I've already told you a lot of this. Please treat this as an 18 to 24 month process. Plan for it. Even if it takes you 3 or 5 months just to get into a rhythm, plan it. Then focus. Now, what does focus mean? It's a term people use loosely. I gave up everything. But even then, the mind needs some diversion. No one was allowed in my room, not even my parents. Now, how did I reward myself? I would study until 2 a.m. and get back to it by 7 a.m. for months on end. So how did I reward myself? I wouldn't shave. I'd let the stubble grow for 5 days. I'd say, if I finish this chapter, then I'll shave. I love taking baths twice a day. But I tell myself, no bath, even if I stink, until I solve this math problem. So you have to find your own reward system. Because the moment you step outside, you get distracted. So plan, reward yourself, and please, 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 be different. Don't be just another person in the crowd. So how should one approach the interview round for an IAS selection process? And what are do's and don'ts? This is my specialty, and this is something I can guarantee to anyone, but I will only share it with someone who is truly serious. If someone reaches me through you and I'm convinced that the candidate is serious, then I will teach this skill. This is the most important quality. It's like golf. People keep practicing long drives, hitting 200 or 150 yards, but they forget when it comes to reaching the hole, it's about precision. You shoot arrows at targets from just 2 feet. Focus on the short game. This is my trade secret. I mean, I will only share it with someone who is serious. So what role do civil servants play in shaping the future of governance? Gaurav, now today, after so many years of service, it's my personal opinion, the future cannot be defined by a civil servant alone. It is a mixture of political governance, civil governance, and the citizen. With so much awareness coming through social media, yes, it has some negative effects too, but it's a joint venture. If service delivery fails somewhere, even a citizen can raise their voice using their mobile or laptop from home and post about it on social media. I used to say something while visiting colleges. People say X country is good. But why is that country good? I don't agree it's about just the land or air, they are the same. What makes the difference? It's the people. The day we start loving and appreciating our own country, we'll be the best. There are many countries where people feel proud saying, this is my country. I can give you an example. I live in Chandigarh. If you've seen the roads of Chandigarh, you'd notice how clean they are. People carry dustbins in their cars. No one throws wrappers on the roads. They segregate their household waste. They feel proud, this is our city. If all of us felt the same way for the whole country, like many other countries do, things would change. I've seen many countries, Gaurav, and none has the kind of natural beauty that India does. You name Switzerland or any other, but our country's problem is not natural resources, it's infrastructure, although that is improving, and more than that, a lack of self-discipline. We don't feel a sense of ownership for our public resources. But that is changing. Our young generation is progressive and optimistic. We have a strong demographic dividend, and I feel very happy seeing it. Apart from the demographic dividend, I am optimistic about our country because the coming generation, who will lead the country, truly loves it. They think in terms of economic progress. We are among the top nations. Just look at our startup ecosystem. It's not just the government's role. The young kids are driving this change. Especially those kids who aren't afraid. Even if they can't speak perfect English, they have the passion to compete globally and are doing new things. So yes, I am very optimistic about our country. So what has been the biggest takeaway from working in the government for over 30 years? I, Gaurav, want to share a story. There was a town like Chandigarh, where I live, and a small hill town like Morni. Suddenly, people came to know that a saint had arrived there. It was said that the future held no mysteries for him. You could ask him anything, and he would answer. There was a young Turk, smart and a bit mischievous, like you. He thought of making a fool out of the saint. He took a small pigeon in his hand, pressed its neck slightly with his thumb, climbed the mountain, and asked the saint, "Baba, can you tell me whether this pigeon is alive or dead?" The young man thought, if Baba says alive, I will press and kill it. If he says dead, I'll open my hand and it will fly away. The Baba looked at him, smiled, and said, "My son, the solution to your problem lies in your own hand." The same applies here. The solution to our problems lies in our own hands. We make mistakes ourselves and then blame the government, expecting everything from it. But the government is formed by us. Let's fulfill our duties. We always talk about fundamental rights, but who talks about fundamental duties? If we do our duty first, then we can blame the government. And yes, no one is perfect. But it has been a wonderful journey, a great learning experience. I have received both love and criticism from people, as I should. It's part of the job. But at the end of the day, I say this again, not only am I proud of my country, but I have a great vision and see a bright future for it. So do you think technology and AI will change the role of bureaucrats in the future? Personally, I am not in favor of AI. Technology, yes. I am not in favor of AI. You are giving away your own mental capability to AI, which cannot understand all the nuances. And if you read, Gaurav, they may be fiction books, but I am afraid. Afraid for my next generation. By the time you reach that level, we may not even be around. AI should be our tool, but I am afraid it will become a master. So that scares me.
So now it's rapid round. One word that describes your journey in bureaucracy, a learning process. Your biggest strength as an IAS officer? Compassion. A book you would recommend to every civil service aspirant? My last interview. The most challenging decision you have ever made in your career? Here, I'll tell you a story. Do you remember the Kandahar hijacking? A few months after that, I was a deputy commissioner. I got a call from the station commander of a station. Another plane has been hijacked. What do we do? I called my immediate boss. It was about 11:30 at night. I said, talk to the higher-ups. He said, I spoke to the higher-ups. I spoke to the highest authority. He said, why are you bothering me? You are the commissioner. Take a decision. I knew either way I'd be in trouble. If the plane landed and I let it go, I was at fault. I asked the station commander from the Air Force. He said, no, you are the head of the district. You have to decide. If I said shoot, many people would have died. Again, I'd be at fault. By that time, it was about 1:35 a.m. I remember it very clearly. I called the station commander. Later he became the chief officer, and I said, all right, I'll be posting fire tenders, ambulances, everything. Your task is to storm the plane. You may lose a few persons, but save the rest. So that was a tough decision.
So tea or coffee? Coffee, because tea has many nuances and nobody knows how to make a perfect cup of tea. Coffee is coffee. You can't change it. So if I say define yourself in one line, what would be that one line? The grassroots people love me. So the last question, what would you say to the young generation dreaming of the future in governance and public service? Be sure why you want to be there, for your personal benefit, for an aura, for public service, so that you are not disappointed. And if you are intelligent, capable in any field, please go and excel yourself outside the government. So, Mr. Ankur Gupta's journey is an inspiration to countless young minds aspiring to serve the nation. His unwavering commitment to governance, his adaptability across diverse roles, and his deep-rooted passion for public service makes him a remarkable mentor. We thank you for sharing your invaluable insights and experience with us today and believe in the future. Amazing mentor. We celebrate leaders like him who are shaping the world and inspiring the next generation. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and always believe in the future. Thank you very much, sir, for your precious time. Pleasure.